Congressman Jones, the situation seems to be that there's a struggle now just to be able to keep up in Congress with what Republican legislatures are doing in states around the country, especially the elements of their bills in Texas and Georgia and now Arizona that affects the way votes are counted and protected after the polls close.
Well, that's right. And of course, we do have a bill, the For the People Act, that would undo a lot of the voter suppression that we are seeing in the places that you mentioned. And of course, the For the People Act has not yet had a floor vote in the United States Senate. And so to the extent that people are perceiving deficiencies with respect to that legislation, I would encourage them to be patient for just a couple of more weeks to see if there are any amendments made to Senate Bill 1. But here's the thing. There is no substitute for the For the People Act. We must pass this legislation. It would do, as I mentioned, a lot to undo the voter suppression, like creating early voting periods and standards for voting by mail. I mean, this is transformative stuff in addition to automatic voter registration, independent redistricting commissions, and public financing of congressional elections.
Lauren Groh-Wargo, what about these? Georgia is one of the states where they've changed the aftermath of voting. They've limited the Secretary of State's involvement. This seems to be an area where, and since each state that's playing around this way is doing it differently, it's hard to see how Congress can keep up with this and write some things that would specifically apply to Georgia, Texas, Arizona.
Look, the For the People Act has provisions in the bill that would address so much of the voter suppression we're seeing around the country. And amendments being discussed by my colleague here, Congressman Jones, and others are looking at more that the courts can do to protect voters and to see ahead on the ways voter suppression is going to change in the coming years. But let's give an example here, Lawrence. There's this idea, the sugarcoating going on, that this last election was flawless. A couple of weeks before Raphael Warnock ran for the runoff election, 360,000 voters were challenged by True the Vote. They tried to kick them off the rolls in a race that was won by 90,000. That type of mass challenge and mass effort at disenfranchisement is what the Republican Party, that's not really the Republican Party. We're talking about those who want democracy versus some sort of MAGA faction. This MAGA faction wants to be able to throw people off the rolls all across the country. The For the People Act addresses these types of mass challenges. And so when you look at bill after bill after bill in states, and then the intention of these bills to disrupt elections, disenfranchise voters, and then question the results after, the For the People Act doesn't fix all of this, but goes a long way towards protecting the freedom of all Americans to vote. And so it's absolutely crucial. And to what the congressman said, we have 2 weeks until Leader Schumer has said it's coming to the floor. And so that's why we have launched a huge effort, I'm hoping I'll get to talk about, to encourage folks to call all of their senators, because we have 2 weeks and a lot can happen in 2 weeks here. And we didn't fight so hard in Georgia with Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff, Stacey Abrams, and every single activist here. We did not fight so hard and deal with the threats, the meanness, the ugliness, the voter suppression, giving up our holidays, working around the clock. We did not give that up for America without expectations that our Senate was going to deliver for voters. And we are going to push, and we're going to make millions of calls this June. And we're going around the country from New England to the South and Southwest to make the case to the U.S. Senate and to the American people that we have got to pass this bill. And so if folks can pull out their phone right now and program this phone number, it's 888-453-3211. Program it in and join our Hot Call Summer tomorrow. All you do is call that number and you'll get connected to your Senate office. And I don't care if your senators are Chuck Schumer, and I don't care if they're Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff. I don't care if they support this bill. They need to hear from you, because the anti-democracy forces are flooding the phone lines, and people need to know that we are not going to rest until we see our democracy protected. We are dealing with a MAGA faction that wouldn't even allow us to investigate the insurrection, okay? We've got to shore up our freedom to vote, and that's what Hot Call Summer is all about. inspired by Megan Thee Stallion about the freedom to be our true, beautiful selves. This is about the freedom to vote and express ourselves. So we hope you'll join us.
Congressman Jones, what can you do just across the Capitol campus from the Senate? You don't have that same kind of Senate rule that requires anything beyond a simple majority in the House of Representatives. But Joe Manchin seems dug in about the rule, and as it stands tonight, you would need not just Joe Manchin to pass one of these bills, but you would need 10 Republicans to join him.
Well, our democracy literally hangs in the balance over the next few months. And to be sure, House Democrats have been doing the lion's share of the work of saving our democracy. But you've got folks like myself in the Congress who are continuing to work with national organizations to build a grassroots momentum to pass this foundational legislation. And also, of course, to educate those senators who may be deeply uneducated as of yet about the accidental origins of the filibuster and the way that it has been weaponized historically to block civil rights legislation, including voting rights, which sounds very familiar to people today. And so we have to make sure that folks who I'm certain do not want their legacies to be defined as the senator, for example, who stood in the way of American democracy and blocked voting rights, are able to give all the information that they need to do the right thing in this moment. And of course, the president of the United States has to be part of this conversation. He has to use all the resources available to him to negotiate some sort of resolution with a member of his own party so that we can still have a democracy moving forward. Because what is happening right now is the greatest test to our democracy since Jim Crow. And we have to get this right. And so I'm calling this Democracy Summer. Everything is on the line. And folks of good conscience who may not have been paying as close attention to this issue, I think are increasingly pivoting to this because they too understand that this is more important even than infrastructure.